Rhythm Heaven is a DS game that could not have a more apt title. Heaven is a place we want to go, right? It's the first in the series to have an official US release. Japan got it in July of 2008, and ours came about 8 months later. There was a GBA game that was exclusive to Japan that came out in 2006, but that's not this game. Each stage is set to their own music and has different visual and audio cues. And man, you better take the practice before you start, because once you're in, this game does not pull any punches.
You've mistaken my kindness for weakness.
As for the stages themselves, I won't really go into all of them right now, but there's definitely some worth mentioning. Not so fast though, I gotta mention the weird way I had to film this one. You may have noticed the footage looks like this. I can't really make it any better, because when I tried emulating, I just couldn't flick, and it just felt really weird. Sorry for the bad quality, but not really. Anyway, I think I'll go a bit out of order here, as the easiest stage to explain the controls with, I think, is a bit in being Munchie Monk. So in Rhythm Heaven, you gotta turn your DS on the side, like you would in Brain Age, for instance. You use the touchscreen to control your character for each minigame. Like, every time you tap the screen, this dude instantly smacks his hand up, and doing it in time with the music is an all-you-can-eat buffet of dumplings. Every game puts you in widely different circumstances, but they mostly control quite similarly, making it simpler to adapt when you play the next one. In fact, the next game in line, Drummer Duel, is a perfect way to elaborate. The rules here are similar, just beat your drum the same way this guy does by tapping on the touchscreen. One tap is one hit, and you gotta do it in time or else these cheerleaders might do something unsavory. This is also one of those stages in which the beat you tap to is dictated by another character doing the exact same thing you're about to do. It's like there's another me in there. Alright, I think I need to talk about an aspect of the controls I've merely glossed over, being the flicking. It feels good. It's much more tactile than you'd expect from a touchscreen and its stylus. Maybe it's because when I flick, I hit the edge where the plastic sticks out, but it's not really something you'd expect. Flicking can do all sorts of things, man. You can operate an assembly line, play guitar, whatever this is. But the first thing I want to talk about is screaming. In Glee Club, you control this kiddo by holding the touchscreen to keep your yap shut. Interestingly, the lack of an input is used as an input, and the guys behind Rhythm Heaven did a bang-up job making so much utility out of a simple control scheme. Where were we? The flicking? Yeah, I think so. This conductor fellow, who I'm pretty sure is supposed to be one of the Clappy Trio guys, sometimes makes y'all scream at once with an audio cue. And it's so cool, because, like, you're already holding down the thing, and you gotta flick up, and it just makes sense when you play it. I really can't imagine trying to emulate this. Rhythm Heaven's just one of those games you gotta play on the original system with the original controls. There's nothing quite like it. Alright, that's enough about the controls themselves. Now let's just look at the games I plain like. Another exemplary use of the flick is in Rhythm Rally, and I think this is truly the first stage in the whole game that's really gonna kick your ass if you don't give it everything. It's one of those games that makes you feel real bad for messing up, but that's not to say the rest of the game isn't like that, oh no. I mean, all you gotta do is flick the ball back at the same speed your pal here does. There's even audio cues for the faster ones. It sounds easy, but Rhythm Rally does not slow down even for a second. And if I'm being quite honest, this is by far the most merciful iteration of it, at least in this game. Another hit has gotta be Love Lab, and my god, this music makes me swoon. The game itself is pretty good. Every little sound the game makes is just so satisfying. Like, I really want to eat whatever they're making here. Also, both of these science dweebs are fucking adorable, and I want to see their relationships flourish. This one just has that vibe, you know? I think it's something about the time of day, or the lighting in this room, that just makes me feel all mushy, you know? One game I want to make note of in particular has gotta be Crop Stomp, which I just could not get a handle on at all in my first playthrough. Sometimes I'd miss my flicks, sometimes I'd miss my stomps, sometimes I'd just do nothing. This may be a good time to mention that if you're stuck on a certain game, you can go to this cafe here and talk to the barista, who's gonna let you skip if you fail 3 times. I mean, not like I would ever take advantage of that.
You've got to cheat to win.
You can't have a Rhythm Heaven game without the Karate Man feature, and honestly, I think this is their best one yet. They're all fantastic, but I quite honestly don't think there's anything more cathartic than kicking these barrels. And oh man, the music, oh! It's one of those songs you hear in passing and think, oh, this sounds sick, but when you actually hear the lyrics, it's really heartbreaking. And there are plenty of other songs in the series like this. I think it's time to bring up some of the sequels now. One thing I noticed with some of the games in the first 6 sets is that they sometimes feel a bit incomplete.
That's it?
Built to Scale in particular is just missing a lot. Obviously, since it's the first one, it's gotta ease first-timers into the whole Rhythm Heaven thing. But when you play Built to Scale 2 and go back to 1, you notice there's a lot missing. I suppose that's what these sequel games are for, you know? Some of them had new controls and cues, some of them shake things up and make you do things you really didn't think it'd make you do, and some of them just change nothing.
One thing I should mention is that some of these sequel games, Bluebirds 2 for instance, make no control changes and still manage to be distinct enough from the original by offering more challenge, changing a few sprites a bit, and remixing the original music. This is an excellent example of how to make a sequel game in Rhythm Heaven, as it makes a fantastic stage without completely trivializing the original.
But most of them are longer. Case in point, Philbots 2. Man, let me tell you, Philbots really isn't something I could get the hang of. It's punishing too. Like, if you miss the input on getting that nozzle on the robot, you're doing nothing. They can't exactly fill in the gaps that are the fault of the player. So you know what they do instead? They make it 3 minutes long.
What were they thinking?
That's a whole remix's worth of nothing but Philbots. Oh yeah, I gotta talk about the remixes. Remixes, one of the most notable aspects of the entire series, use gameplay found in individual stages and splices them together. Sometimes seamlessly, other times not so much. The first 6 use each game in their respective set, and 7 through 9 can use whatever they damn well please. Almost none of them really stick out to me all that much. They each have this sort of loose theming, like, I think 2's a beach level and 9 is space? The remixes themselves, 3 is pretty bad, it just goes on and I don't really love any of the stages in it. 7's neat, because it's kind of like an extended version of that first song in Big Rock Finish, and look, it even ends with it. But really, I'm not even gonna sugarcoat it, Remix 8 clears. This remix stomps on you so hard your first time, and it's just a matter of realizing that the flicks between Rhythm Rally and Dog Ninja are the same inputs. Like, once you do that, it's so satisfying to just blaze through this one. One thing I've noticed about these games is that it's sometimes weirdly forgiving with the rating it gives you. For reference, try again is when you gotta try again, obviously. Okay is when you do okay, and superb is when you get a medal. So for this playthrough of Remix 8, I thought I did pretty bad and I'd get an okay at best, but no. It just gives me the medal like it's candy. Once you do have a medal, you get a chance to go for a perfect in each stage, but only when the game tells you to. I have some gripes with this. I mean, sure, the pressure of going for a perfect is half the fun, but man, wouldn't it be nice if I could just grab these anytime for any stage? Half the reason I mess up with these is the pressure, and that's all it takes to turn what would be a pretty easy game into a nervous meltdown. You only get 3 shots at a stage when it's time to go for a perfect, and it's honestly a relief when I mess up since the pressure is automatically gone. Maybe that says a lot about me as a person, I don't know. Anyway, I don't really know how I managed to get this many on my personal save, but I'm pretty happy about it. I got a bit sidetracked with the medals and the perfects and stuff, but now it's finally time to talk about Remix 10, the culmination of every stage in the game. Final remixes can be a nightmare for newcomers, or maybe those just out of practice. Never mind, I got a medal on my first try. Fuck me, I guess. Well, that was fun. There's these extra modes that can be neat little distractions, but honestly, the endless games just put more pressure on my back than I'd like, and it's just not as fun. Well, that's Rhythm Heaven. This game was just as great as I remember, and if you couldn't tell, I love gushing about this game. So much so that, hey, maybe I'll make a video ranking all the rhythm games in Rhythm Heaven DS. All 51. Yep, I can't forget about Airborders. Airborders? I can always pick up this game and blast through a stage, usually Remix 8, just for the hell of it. I may not get the same kind of enjoyment many people do when they try to knock out every perfect in the game, but I don't think this is a game I could ever get tired of.